Hello and welcome to the Sacred Gates. My name is Elura and welcome to the new subscribers to the Sacred Gates on YouTube. Thank you so much. I hope you've had a chance to download the free training that we have. It helps you learn the one key technique to help you to really learn how to heal yourself and really to learn how to train your awareness in such a way that it supports you and heals you every day. And today's video I wanted to do on a topic that had recently come up in an email conversation, and it's regarding hungry ghosts and what that's about and how that works. And some of you may be familiar with this term already. It's quite often associated with Asia and where they do a lot of ancestor worship. But all around the world there are hungry ghosts, and how this comes to be is that when somebody dies, of course, there's a lot of grief for the people that are still alive because they loved and were attached to that person. And when that grief is so strong, it actually affects the spirit. So the person that died, their spirit, it affects them in their afterlife. And so they're meant to go away from this earthly realm because their karma has finished here, and it makes it very difficult for that spirit to leave this plane of existence where they no longer actually exist in their physical body anymore. So they've shed their physical body, but actually the astral body, the emotional body, is the slowest to release. So the physical and the mental body go quite quickly, but the emotional body. And so when that spirit feels all of that grief, which is born from attachment, it hooks and locks and pulls down the spirit into this density where it no longer belongs. And it makes it very difficult for the spirit to release itself from this earthly plane and move on to what you could say the light, or the next point of being processed along their karmic journey. And of course, it's completely natural and normal and even important to grieve someone or people when they've died. Families come together, friends come together, and while they may be celebrating the life of the person, they're also grieving the loss of that person in their life. And so I'm in no way saying that people shouldn't grieve so that the spirits don't get stuck here. But it is, I'm just talking more mechanically here. And what happens is they become hungry ghosts because they get attached back here through the emotional pull of the grief and the sadness and the anguish and all of the pain that the ones that are alive are generating and releasing and communicating really directly. If you think about it, they're not grieving another person. It's directly those lines of communication, those lines of emotional bondage, in a sense, are going straight to that person. And some people will hold on for longer to their loved ones who have departed or who are trying to depart, and others will, kind of come to accept. It's a huge process if you've been through it yourself, and it's very unique and personal to each individual. But what does happen is when we grieve and we really just kind of hold on, as we humans have a tendency to do, it causes the spirit to do the same thing, and then they become a hungry ghost. And the reason why they're hungry is because they're hungry for something. They're caught in between worlds, and they don't really have a place in this world, so they're hungry. They're like lost ghosts. I think that's the other term for them. And recently I was attending a virtual funeral for my cousin's husband who died quite suddenly. And I was in my healing room watching through the computer. It was the first time I'd ever experienced this because I didn't go to Australia for the funeral. But so I was it was odd. I was watching it remotely, really, from the corner, I suppose, of the room. And I had the spirit of this man come to me, or I was aware of him at least, and he was all in shock still because it had happened so quickly. So he was having his own shock of his life ending really fast. So he didn't take the consciousness of long goodbyes and saying goodbye and then dying, it was really sudden for him too. So he and his living family were all going through the same emotion, but he was in a place he didn't recognize yet. And so because it was a shock, he was kind of still linked to the reality of this earthly realm, this plane, but he wasn't here. So he was confused and kind of all static going on. And so through the sacred gates, we help to communicate to him to go to the light and to go. It's okay to go, and to kind of guide him on why and what to do. And something also heavy on my heart today is that, and that I've been releasing for the purpose of helping to release the people that died recently here in Thailand. There's people dying all over the world. But just, I think it was yesterday, a shooter, a father, went into a childcare centre where he thought his child was, and he was trying to get the child, and he went in and killed, about 24 children or 23 children. And I won't go into the details because it's just so sad. And I remember hearing the news this morning, and I thought, oh my gosh, straight away, I was thinking, oh my gosh, I've got to help release my own sadness, but also I don't want my own sadness to help pull those children and keep them here. And so I just emerged from a healing, helping to talk to them about where to go and showing them to the light and helping release them as much as they are ready to go to the light. But of course, the sadder the loss, the deeper the tragedy, the more deep the grief, the deeper the anger, the deeper the attachment, the deeper the confusion and rage and everything. And so all these children were feeling that, and were also very confused as well. So yes, and ancestor worship is the practice of worshipping your ancestors. And although there can be a beautiful devotional higher aspect to the practice of worship and sacredness and prayer-like consciousness to the practice of worship, as you know, worshipping, people worship McDonald's, people also worship, iPhone, or worship different things, and we see the world is many worshippings going on that are far from positive. And we can also worship things in a way that cause them to also pull and come back. And there can be a belief that a being who you loved, who is now departed, has really evolved. But that's not always so. People who die don't become necessarily automatically in their afterlife like an archangel or anything like that. And even archangels have their limits and their own karma to go through. So people who have departed aren't necessarily really evolving and in their afterlife that you would want to take on and try to keep them here, or necessarily really tune into their voices and become magnetized to where they are, or in their place of disrupted karmic journeying because of the worshipping, to tune into the level where they are because of that hungry, ghost-like, lost-like plane of existence that the worshipping can draw them down to. So I just wanted to do a video on that and the idea of what you may have heard of lost ghosts and how the energy works, so just at a very mechanical level. And so, if someone you love has died, or you hear of someone else that they love and that someone has died, and you feel that sadness, I do encourage you to relax and soften and feel it, and don't touch it. If you'd like more information on how to do this particular technique of releasing, which the Te Shara lineage, the Sacred Gates, and Life Mastery Guild is all based upon releasing the awareness, please download the 20-minute free training that we put together for you. And by doing that, you also sign up to our monthly newsletter and can receive some extra training through that, and just a check-in every month from us. But that training can help you understand how to, when you feel the sadness and the grief of someone else, or your own sadness and grief and anguish around loss, to also help to release the spirits so that they can move on and they can lighten their path and not have to carry our grief and make their journey easier. And so in a sense, if you really do care about them in your own grief, to leave a little bit of space for that release and helping them move on. And that will also help us as the ones still here to also move on. And it is a complex personal journey, and I'm in no way trying to, kind of say how it should be, but it is helpful to leave a bit of room for spaciousness within your awareness so that you can release. And whenever you hear something sad. So yeah, I just wanted to do a little video on that for this podcast. I hope you're all doing very, very well, and thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe to the Sacred Gates, share then like this video. Please leave a comment if you'd like to. Download the free training, and if you're interested, if you do have an animal that's ready to move on, or a loved one that's ready to move on, at the Sacred Gates we do have one of our specialty services is called Life into Light, and it's where we help beings of this earthly plane to transition into their next journey, forward on their journey. And we've worked with people, we've worked with animals, and it's a very sacred experience, as personally from my own experience working through the Sacred Gates with people that we've worked with, both the family and the animal or people that have moved on. It's a very sacred, deep, special, sacred prayer of an experience, quite honestly. And yeah, it's very sacred, special work. So if you do know somebody that's looking for support and is open for the kind of support that we offer through the Sacred Gates, please check out our website. There is, under the services page, healing services page, it says Life into Light, and you can check that healing service out, or feel free to email me if you have any questions. Okay, thank you so much, guys. Have a lovely day. Bye-bye for now.